Hi everybody, it's Joni Young here. Welcome back to my channel for another painting tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to paint a pretty water garden with some purple and pink flowers and some weeping willow trees at sunset. I've got a bunch of colors here on my palette and I'll have a full list below this video in the description box as well. So let's just go over the canvas first. I've got a 10 by 20 long panel canvas. However, you can paint yours on any canvas that you want, any shape or size. Keep in mind when you change the shape and size, the proportions will change slightly, so it'll alter the way it looks, but it'll still look really pretty. And I want to mention that I love seeing your versions from my painting tutorials, so if you haven't yet, feel free to share them online and tag me in them. We've got a Facebook group. I'll leave a link below for that. And let's go over the colors now. Titanium white, light blue violet, sap green, olive green, cool lemon yellow, neon red, neon pink, and some burnt sienna. The first brush that I'm going to be using today is my number 30 brush, just to get the larger areas covered. And we're going to be using a few mop brushes, any kind of mop brush you want, round or oval like these. You'll also need a few brushes for details. So I've got a little liner brush here on the left and a little round brush here on the right. I'll also be using a long rigger brush, a number 2 rigger brush for some long pieces of grass and reeds coming out of the water, and also for some tree branches. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and get started with the very first step. I'm just gonna get my brush a little bit wet, my 50 filbert brush here. And I'm just going to wet the canvas down a little bit so I can blend my acrylics out a lot easier. So just adding a bit of water to the canvas really helps blend your acrylics. You'll use less paint this way and enjoy the process much more. Okay, so the very first color I want to take is a little bit of my yellow here, and I'm just going to add it right around this area. We're going to have leave a little space here of the canvas, the white canvas, that'll be our glowing sun. And then I'm going to pull down strips here in the water so we have that nice reflection. And the next color I'm going to take is my neon red, but I'm also going to take a little bit of white with it. And I'm going to start coming around and adding these little scoops. Scoop, getting really close and partially over that yellow. And then we're going to pull down into the water as well. Now you can also just add a little gentle sweep like this across. So you create sort of a weaved pattern here that makes it nice and reflective. And I'm just going to finish painting that in there. Okay, the next color I'm going to take is a little bit of my blue violet. I'm going to add a little bit of white, and I still have a little bit of the red, yellow, and white in there, and that's okay because that will give us a little bit of a smoky tone. It'll mute the colors a little bit. People are always afraid of making muddy colors in their paintings, but it's really important to include a little bit of a muddy tone or muted tones, especially when using color and creating a nice ambiance mood in a painting. I'm going to take a little bit more of my blue and I'm going to pull down here. Take just a little bit more. This time I'm going to go up and down in shorter brush strokes. Shorter, so it kind of goes on an angle like that. And I'm going to tap a little bit there. I'm going to come up from the bottom. Take a little bit more. And I'm going to take a little bit of green, both greens here. Still continuing to pull and sweep. I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna now and mute those greens. So it's just taking the coolness out of the green and making it more of a darker muted olive green. So the next thing I'm going to do is just start holding my brush like this, and I'm going to start tapping in towards the center. So we're going to create kind of a point. We're going to make a little bit of a point here. And then I'm just going to lightly sweep a little bit. This is going to be a little path here that leads us to the water's edge. And I'm going to just gently flick for a little bit of grass here. Same here. Taps and little flicks like this. And then I'm going to take a little bit more. We're just going to say brown and dark green. And I'm going to come right up here. And we'll add our horizon line way up here. So I'm going to push and tap a little fuller here, and then I'm going to make it go a little bit higher up here. Pull and sweep. So we have two layers, one that's a little thinner and comes up a little higher, and then one thicker one, and we're going to go right underneath that and gently pull both ways. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more to the end of my brush, and we'll make sure we have it a little bit darker, a little line underneath. I'm going to pull on the edge here very lightly, and then again down, and then I'm going to come in on this side. We're going to leave just a little opening there. Again, pulling in the center, pulling out this way across vertically and horizontally. And we're going to add a little bit more as we work our way down here. Remember, you can't have every part of the painting bright. You want to have some shadow too to help create the mood and a little bit of contrast. So let's go back, wiggle in below the end of our brush with green, dark green, and our brown. Then a little pull and sweep again, and a little bit across. I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to come right along the edge here, tap. We're going to add some shadows here. So remember, we're making it the path narrower, wider here, and then always add a little gentle pull and flick just with the end of the brush like this for some grass and some weeds. And then we'll have some shadows coming over the path where we'll have some purple flowers on either side, and they're kind of leaning in and causing a shadow down here. Okay, I'm going to rinse that brush out, and we're going to move on to a mop brush. So this is dry. I want to make sure that you guys don't put it in the water for this next technique and brush stroke. Once you're finished with the brush, then you can rinse these mop brushes out as usual, like you would any other brush. But they work best and hold their shape best for the brush strokes, primarily for foliage, treetops, and moss and bushes like that. When you don't get them wet, you want them to stay nice and fluffy. So I'm going to load my brush up with a little bit of light green, dark green, a little bit of the brown, and even a little bit of white. Now careful not to overload your brush, otherwise you'll ruin the shape. It's still a little fluffy like this, so I'm going to start adding some taps here above the horizon line. A little bit more, get a little bit of white in there so it doesn't dry too dark. Again, sort of this army green color, that is so pretty with all the other light, pretty pastel colors. I'm going to sweep underneath whatever I'm adding up top, just pull a little reflection down like that in the water. And I'm going to come right out in here. And then I want to just kind of squeeze my brush together like this and add a little, I'm going to need a little bit of water for this. I'm going to show you how I do this. Now, if your brush isn't getting narrow like this, by the time you're done using it, it's kind of saturated and lost its shape. That's when I like to apply this little technique. A little bit of water, and it turns into a filbert brush. So all I want to do is just use the leftover paint in there with a little bit of water to really stretch out. Take advantage of this long panel. It makes every landscape really dramatic. I love painting on these. And just stretch out these reflections and shadows in the water. Okay, and then to keep it looking like water, we're going to pull a few little lines across as well. Okay, so this brush is too saturated. I'm going to switch over to another brush. I've got an oval one here. Go back over to, you know what? I did forget a color. I just realized I forgot one color, and that's my Dioxazine Violet. So let me just go ahead and add that. Again, I'll have the full list of all the colors and brushes I'm using in the description below this video, but I'm going to take a little bit of purple and the brown, and I'm going to come down here just before we start working on that tree. I'm going to add a little bit more depth down here. This is going to really build up to our foliage and our flowers, but we've got a nice balance of light and shadow already, as you can see, starting off with the greens, and green and purple are really complementary. And also the burnt sienna has a lot of red in it. It's a reddish warm brown, which is also really complementary to green. So you can't go wrong with these colors. I'll just sweep out a little bit here, just a little along the edges for some shadows. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit more depth here right underneath the water's edge. Pull and sweep just a little bit. We'll tap just a little bit in there. And I'm going to get right below here as well. Add a little bit more contrast along the sides here. Now I can go back into my greens. I don't have to have a clean brush. My brush is still holding that fluffy shape. And we're going to start working on the foliage here. We'll bring over a little bush right here, and then we're going to start coming in with our big weeping willow. I'm going to tap and turn my brush, tap across, and then on an angle and turn. I'm going to have it coming right in front of, right over top of the sun. So we'll have that light right behind those branches. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit more of my light green, the olive green, and I'm going to add a little bit more in here. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of water on my brush now that I'm just about done those trees, and I'm going to pull a few lines down here for some shadows. Now we're going to switch over to our 2 rigger liner brush. You're going to need some water, some purple and brown, and we're going to start their tree right down here. Gently push, kind of start to wiggle and turn over those branches. Make it a little thicker here. Then we're going to add a little bit of water to our brush. So we add just a hint of a reflection here, but not all the branches, just a little bit of that tree trunk. And it should be more watered down, the color of the tree trunk reflecting in the water than what you have above. And then let off on the brush on the pressure amount of pressure that you're using to add these small branches. And see, I'm just twisting and shaking. So if you're a little bit nervous using a liner brush, your branches will look even better. So don't worry about it. Take advantage of those shakes and create some really nice branches that are graceful looking and have bend to them. So I'm going to come in here off the edge here, wiggle. I love painting weeping willow trees. The shapes of them, especially those really old ones, they can have so much movement and character to them. Take a little bit more water here on my brush. A little bit more water again. I need to have patience when using the liner brush. And I want to mention, check out my playlist on my channel of how to use paintbrushes. So I'm adding to the playlist and my list there of brushes, but each tutorial, each video focuses on one specific brush, how to use it and what you can use it for, how to load it, everything. So then I'm going to come out here with leftover paint and just add a little hint of a reflection that just kind of stops right there. We don't need to do all the branches. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just make this tree trunk here a little bit, because it's really thick here, and I need to make sure that it's just as thick, widest on the bottom. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is just pull a little line right under here with my purple. I think I might have a little bit of some drips in there. I've got to be careful. If I have some drips, I'll just dab them off. I've always got some paper towel. I just want to add another little branch right in here. I always got some paper towel on hand. Okay, the next thing I want to do while I have this brush is add some tall pieces of grass or weeds in the water. So I'm going to get it wet again, and I'm going to take some green along with some, I'm going to take both of those greens, a little bit of purple and brown. Okay, get it mainly loaded there on the bottom, and make sure you have enough water. And then we're just gonna hold back about a little ways from the canvas and just lightly flick, pull and flick. You can kind of go in like a half circle, bring it over and add a little bit of movement. And you just get a little bit of those reeds in the water sometimes, in and around ponds, and also some water lilies we might add to this painting. So this painting is actually inspired by one that I did earlier. It's just coming in my studio to have some little bit of painting therapy. And I thought it was really pretty, and I enjoyed the experience, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you're liking this one. And also let me know if you have any requests. I never really run out of ideas. I kind of have the opposite, where it's hard for me to just focus on one and pick that, because I wish I could turn the creativity off sometimes because I have too much of it. And sometimes it makes it hard to focus and choose. I'll come in my studio sometimes and I'm like, not what am I going to paint? It's like, which one am I going to paint? Which idea? Because I have so many. And, you know, some people say that you need to give yourself a break after, you know, you've been painting a lot. If you feel like you need a break, take a break. But for me, it just fuels me. It gives me more creativity and ideas. and it's very beneficial for me, but I can't speak for everybody. We're all different. And I do take breaks the odd time when I feel like I need to, just kind of rejuvenate. And okay, so we've got some grass on either side. We are going to come in here with some pretty purple flowers and some water lilies. What I'm going to do now is use another mop brush, and I'm going to come in and just soften these areas. I'm going to go over here with a little bit weeping willow leaves on top of that. So I've just got another mop brush here. Like I said, it doesn't matter what shape of mop brush you use, just use whatever, and apply a little bit of, I'm going to take a little bit of white in this time. Nice and soft, no water on the brush, just paint. So you're going to go over some of your branches so it has a natural layered look, because the leaves aren't going to be all just on one side of the tree. I mean, it's possible, but I want to have some leaves here that are coming over the front, and just pull and sweep. I'm going to add a little bit of white here with my light green, because this is in the distance. This is further away, so it's going to be a little lighter, right? It's going to be a little softer than the contrast that we have up here. So we'll just add a little bit like that, and then I'll add a little bit more of the light olive green here as well. A little bit of brown and sap green in there again. I'm going to add another layers in here. So we have some light and we have some dark. And then I'm going to take a flat brush, number 20 flat brush. I didn't include this in the brushes at the beginning of this video, sorry, but I'm telling you now, and I'll include it in my list below. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of those colors again, and I'm going to very lightly, so you need to have some water in your brush to help create, and we're just pulling those like we did the same technique here in the water as sweeping. We're just going to gently pull over those trees to give them that weeping willow look, that beautiful graceful look that they have. Take a little bit of white in there, and then kind of on an angle like you were painting a waterfall. Choose a few areas where you just bring a few of these more glowy ones inside. And this one's coming right down to the water. So then we'll add a little reflection, just little dabs like that. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and a little bit of white. I'm just going to add, just catch the edge of the tree trunk there, more so on this side, and then just a little bit there. I'm going to come back in with a clean brush, a little bit of blue and some white. I'm going to tap in a little bit of blue between some of these branches, making sure I've got a little bit of blue there, because it goes really nicely with the pinky peachy glowing sky. And I'm going to take a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow here. And I'm going to go partially over that yellow and where we have that red. I'm going to pull some more color down here. I'm going to go into my neon pink. And a little bit of white. Mix that up with the red and the yellow. So I've got this pretty pink here. I want to add that in the water. So I'll take a little bit, because I still got lots of paint in my brush. I just need help releasing it. So just going over with a little bit of water, both directions, and then a little bit more yellow and white right in here, lining it up. A little bit of yellow and red. I want to make sure that I get it in the water how it is up top. And I'm going to add this to the path as well. So that sort of peachy color, anything similar like this. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. I'm just going to kind of skim over these areas. Do a little bit of a glow here. I can dry brush this over part of the path because it's all dry now. And then right in here, so we want this to be white, but right in here, I want to take some of the peachy coral color. And then a little bit more yellow, just right there. So it's nice and bright and glowing. And you can always soften if you want with a little bit of white in there, add a little bit of water to your brush. This could be a little bit of fog and mist as well. It looks really pretty. And just putting that in more in the distance in the background, right? So let's go ahead and add some water lilies now. I'll start my lilies with lily pads. I'm going to take a little bit of sap green. Let me just add a little bit more to my palette. So a little bit of purple and both greens. And what we're going to do is just gently push, go across, and then bring it back. So we can go part way through our grass, our water weeds here, or reeds, and this instantly adding these lily pads over top of part of them puts them more in the water, and this looks like a reflection mirrored in the water. See how cool that is? So it's like kind of like an instant way to do that. And then I'm just going to add, using more of the corner of my brush to make smaller ones. You can use a little round brush or a shorter or smaller flat brush too if you want to make some smaller ones. And then the full width of the brush for some bigger ones. I'm just going to come down here again, add a little bit more depth and shadow along the sides. I just rinsed out my brush because I had quite a bit of paint on there. I've got a little bit of water, and I'm going to pick up these colors, purple, greens, and water, and I'm just going to go over the edge here because I want to have this a little darker on the side. Pick up a little bit of burnt sienna too if you want. And don't be afraid to go over the water and those colors, as long as you leave a little hint showing. And if you don't, if you accidentally cover some up, like I'm just going to show you here, say you want to have a little bit more blue, we'll just reapply the blue. There's no reason why you can't. You can even add a little bit down here, but we're going to start working on our flowers now. I've got my round brush here, a number 3 round brush, and I'm going to take some purple and some blue. And I'm going to start with the ones here. Now, the path is right in the foreground. So we're going to make our flowers taller. Big stalk flowers, maybe they're delphinium, maybe they're foxgloves. Just push and tap, leaving a few little spaces. Now we're going to come in with a little bit of white after, and we're going to go over some of these water lilies. We're painting things in order, so it's unavoidable. You're going to have to go over some of the things you painted in order to make it believable and give that layered look. We can still see them through there though, right? So I'm going to take a little bit more of the blue this time. So we're changing up the amount of purple and blue that we add for each one. They're not all going to be the same. Bring it right off of the canvas. Take a little bit more. Add another one here. Okay, and now let's work on the next side. Dab, dab, dab. Of course, narrower on the top and a little fuller as they get down to the bottom. They don't all have to be going in the same direction. In fact, it's nice if you have a few that kind of curve over more to the left or more to the right, and then have some that are just straight up and down. I have delphiniums and foxgloves that grow up to, some of them are 6 feet tall, and that's pretty tall to me. I don't know, maybe they can grow even taller than that. And then there's some delphiniums that I really love that are the dwarf. They're called dwarf delphinium, and they're like a pretty light blue. I was just talking about this with my sister the other day, who also loves flowers and gardening. Though gardening is a lot of work. I mean, but you hopefully get what you put into it. Not always. I mean, sometimes I've had some bad luck with my clematis. I'm hoping this year that, and my wisteria. I'm very hopeful about, I'm trying wisteria for the 3rd time. Maybe the 3rd time's the charm. Okay, but see how we're just adding some that are straight up and down, and then some that are a little bit on an angle, and they sometimes have like a little sway to them, a little bend and a curve. So don't always make them the exact same shape, size, and direction. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit up here. Just want to have a little bit of purple. Maybe there's some more delphiniums back there. Then I'm going to take what's left on my brush and just gently pull and sweep up and down in the water. I'll take a little bit of blue, a little bit of white. Let's take just a little bit more there. And then we're just going to add these little dabs. We can add a little bit here as well, just little hints. See, this color is very pretty with this light bluey lavender, is really pretty with the peach and the yellow. And then I'm gonna add a little reflection down here. I'm gonna take my flat brush again and just demonstrate that a little bit better and slower for you. So with a little bit of paint on there, you can even kind of go over a little bit of those and pull in some, and then slide back and forth. I'm going to take a little bit of purple sap green on the end of my brush, and I'm going to just add a line where I want the land to be that the flowers are growing on. Just a little bit in there. Now we're just going to add a gentle little flick down like that. I'm going to add a little bit here as well, gentle little flick, a little bit more of the purple and blue, and a little bit there in the water. The next brush I'm going to be using is this #1 short liner brush. What I want to do is come over and add a few more branches that come out in the front here. I'm going to use a little bit of water, loosen that paint up, or loosen the paint up, and so that it thins out, and I'm going to add just a few branches that I want to be visible that come out. Okay, and same on this side. I'm going to go over this at another branch. Now you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I think this is a nice thing to do for at the end of painting the trees, is just include some that are just in dark silhouette that come in the front. It kind of makes everything look a little more 3D. So I'm going to come on the edge here and just dab, dab, dab a little bit. And I'm pulling and dabbing this way so that it looks more like water. I'm going to give a little bit extra shadow right down in there. And I'm going to take a little bit of my light olive green here with a leftover remaining purple in my brush. Whoops. That's okay. I've got a little bit of the sap green in there, which is, it's fine. We can have a little bit of that and then mute it with some purple and some brown. Just want to add like a little bit more, cast some more shadows here. Play on the light a little bit here on the path, just a little bit more. And it's just a little bit heavy, so I'm going to take my brush and sweep a little bit of it off. Take my brush again, sweep it off, and this is just my flat brush, so you could do this with any brush. So it's got to be like that, just that right balance. Okay, so I'm going to add a little tree right in here. Just a really little, small, it might be a little cherry blossom tree or a little magnolia tree. Okay, I'm just going to soften that, and then I'm going to bring out a little hint of reflection there. There's that leftover paint there. Now while that's drying, we're going to come over here and move into our water lilies. I'm going to start the water lily with some pink and some yellow, and I'm going to add a few flowers. We can add a few little dabs that go back here. Then I'm going to take a little bit of white, dab over some of those, and then gradually make them a little bit bigger. So now we're going to pull down some petals. Just kind of in like a little cup shape. So you can paint as many petals as you want. You can add another little one right there. Make these a little softer. Maybe just a few little dabs in the water. With a yellow. And we're going to take a little bit of white, yellow, and the olive green. We're going to pull over part of these lily pads. take a little bit more of the yellow and just really dab, get the inside there. I just want another little flower there, so I'm going to take a little bit of pink and white. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is come in with my green and purple liner brush, a little bit of water, and I'm going to pull in some more weeds, little pieces of grass here. I'm going to use my rigger brush, take a little bit of white and green, and add a little bit there as well. So we have some light and dark. Okay, now for the inside of this tree trunk, I'm going to take some burnt sienna, a little bit of white, and I'm just going to come in like that, and then down below, little pink flowering tree. Like I said, it could be a magnolia tree or a cherry blossom tree, but I'm just going to take a little bit of my pink and my white. I'm going to take just a little hint of the blue and hardly any paint on the brush and no water, just a dry brush. I'm going to just apply the pressure like this, so using part of the mop brush like this against the canvas so I can control the amount that I'm adding. So just a delicate little pink tree like that, and then I'm going to gently pull down a little reflection in the water. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of white along with a little bit of pink, and I'm going to add a little bit more of the white, and then add a delicate little highlight like that, and a little bit in the water as well. Add a little bit of pink something here, something pink and flowery there, and then add that in the water. Add just a little hint here on the path. And then I'm going to soften with my flat brush here. I'm going to take some of that off. Kind of just blend it around. Okay, so it's more subtle now, and this is still, I love this. To me, this is like the focal point. I love that little tree. What we need to do now before we're finished this painting is just come in and add our lighter layer to our flowers down here. So I'm taking my little round brush again, white, purple, and blue, and we're going to start adding those little dabs again. Not completely covering up those existing darker ones, but you can see how much they've changed since they've dried, right? It's a lot darker. But see, now we can come in and add some lighter tones. You can add these little scoops and swirls. You don't have to paint all the details of every flower petal. It's more fun to just paint sort of impressionistic style, especially when you have like a big amount of flowers like this. They're not going to all be in full focus. A little bit of white in there, soften that. I think that it's just one of the most relaxing things to paint for me. Little ponds like this, little ponds and lakes with little flowers around, little water gardens. And then just include a little bit of that color on the path. A little bit more in this area here. Take a little bit of my light olive green here and just tap and scatter this around, make it look like little bits of moss even. It's growing over the path and the sides. Have a few of these flowers just that come and hang over the edge. Could look a little bit more messy and natural. Now I'm going to choose a few flowers to add just a little bit more shape to the petals with my short liner brush. And I'm going to take some white and create some little loops. Just a few here. I don't want to make all of them. Now they're looking a little more like foxgloves do, aren't they? Delphiniums are more frilly looking, and foxgloves like these have that little bell shape, and some of them get so big we have little hummingbirds that go inside of them. I've always tried to get a picture of it. I think it would make for a beautiful painting, but they are quick. And the way they dart, sometimes they're kind of scary. They seem very delicate, and I've always heard that they can be a little vicious. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of blue and white, and I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow to some of these the petals on the water lilies on the bottom. Okay, and then just scatter a few little lines here around. I need to add just a teeny tiny bit of light purple here and in the water. It's a little solid looking. Just need to break that out. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow and pink, a little bit of white just to tone that down, a little bit more yellow. It's very, very bright yellow here, so I just want to get as close to that yellow as I can, leaving some visible. And then where's that color right there? I've got a lot going on my palette right now. I'm getting a little lost. yellow, pink, and white. So I'm just going to add a little bit in here. Take a little bit of water, thin that out, because we do have this little bit of coral peachy pink here. So I'm going to just add the last little bit. And then I'm going to call this painting done. This was so much fun. I'm glad I got to share this with you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to wish you guys all the best, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more, and you can check out my link for Patreon and my website below, and I'll see you guys very soon in my next tutorial. Bye!